Hey, good morning, everybody. Everyone had a good weekend. Before we get started, it doesn't affect this class, but I know some of you also have me for stats on Tuesday, Thursday. We're not going to meet Tuesday for stats. Unfortunately, there's another funeral I need to attend. So I recorded a video this morning in this room. It's processing now. I'll be sending that out in lieu of class Tuesday. We were going to have, and this is stats, by the way. I know this is MIS class. I'm not a day off. But we were going to have a test Thursday. I'm going to move that to Tuesday. But we have a take-home assignment was due Thursday. That's going to stay Thursday, all right? So the video explains that. I'll explain an email. But just because I know you guys don't check email, and I know that is news that will travel fast that we're not having class. So what we're doing, though, and today doesn't affect us at all. Chapter 9, we're talking about business intelligence systems, which is very core to what we're talking about in this class, in that we are trying to take data, process it, and make information, right? So we can manage better, so we can make better decisions, so we can solve problems, so we can manage projects. All those good things are tasks that we can perform. And just to kind of review a little bit, we're going to move forward, and hopefully you brought your laptops. If not, please begin bringing them again on Wednesday, okay? We're going to use them on Wednesday, probably today as well. But we talked about what are business intelligence systems. So we get a lot of data, right? More data generated now in a week than probably was generated, in the first 90 years of the 20th century. So it's unbelievable amount of data that's generated. We said one of the sources of that data is operational data. Data that's gathered from doing day-to-day stuff, right? Buying things, checking out, clickstream, walking around with your cell phone, that's gathering data all the time. Social data, we talked about connections, relationships. We also talked about purchase data. So we saw Axiom as a data provider. We saw that catalog of information you can buy on your customers. You can say, I want to know if they're a registered independent or Republican or Democrat. I want to know what magazines they subscribe to. I want to know their income of their house. I want to know if they have a dog or cat. We can buy that kind of information because there's a lot of people gathering data about you. And we also talked about employee data. So this is all the data come together. It's kind of complex, right? We can get all this data from all these sources. And what we want to do is use it in business intelligence applications. And we're going to talk about this a little bit today. Reporting, data mining, big data, knowledge management, so that we can provide our employees information, right? Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. It enables me to do better. So we talked a lot, or we gave some examples of how organizations use this information. We talked about purchasing pattern changes, looking at entertainment purposes, predictive policing, all kinds of things we talked about. Now, this figure, though, is kind of, okay, what are the activities in the BI process? We talked about BI, business intelligence process. So we have these data sources that we kind of discussed, and the next step is to acquire the data from those data sources. Now, a couple things. Operational databases are different typically than the databases we attach to when we're doing business intelligence. For example, when I am, Walmart has a point of sale system, right? When you go to Walmart and buy something, that's being stored in a database. But when it wants to do reporting, that reporting doesn't run against that database. Typically what organizations do is they extract data from all these sources and put it into one big place. And that's where we analyze. When we do reporting purposes, that's where we analyze. So we extract data from operational databases, from purchase data that we bought, from social data, from employee knowledge, and we put it in one big place. Not the operational database, but a separate database. We say this is like the knowledge area that we're going to access when we want to do things. Does anyone know what those databases, or that might be called in an organization? Have ever heard this term? So like a big repository of data that I'm going to use for business intelligence applications. Think of a physical big repository of products. Like Amazon will have these all throughout the United States. Warehouses. So using that term, have you ever heard the term data warehouse? Do you guys ever hear of data warehouse? No, yes? Well, data warehouse is not a big warehouse because data is digital, right? But it's servers, it's databases of all of the data that we're going to store. And organizations don't get rid of data, right? They keep it forever. There's gold in there, right? So they keep it forever. So operational databases are one thing, but usually business intelligence applications are focused on data warehouses, where these organizations, they acquire all this data and they have to do some stuff to it. We're going to talk about that in a minute. They obtain it, and then they need to clean it for reporting purposes, organize and regulate it, and catalog it, and then we can run these business intelligence applications against the data. So, if I want a product and I work for Amazon, well, I go to the warehouse, right? If I want to run some kind of query, some kind of report that tells me the number of customers in Cambria County that purchased alpaca socks last year in November, I go to the data warehouse, right? So that is what a data warehouse is. So data warehouse is one term, and a smaller data warehouse, anyone ever heard the term data mart? You ever hear data mart? Okay. So a data warehouse would be like the organization of business intelligence data for the entire organization. But perhaps I'm in the marketing division, and I don't really care so much about logistics information, right? I don't care, usually marketing, but let's say I'm focused on customer acquisition, right? Acquiring customers. So I don't care about the way products move through our company or, inventory or anything like that. I'm concerned with maybe customer transactions, our customer file. Well, there might be an extract from that data warehouse, and it can be duplicate almost, of a subset of that data that's more concerned about my information. And that would be a data mart. So data warehouse is usually an organizational level kind of warehouse of data. Data mart is more geared toward a department, right? So marketing or a function. Marketing, logistics, purchasing, accounting, right? They all have needs and different needs, so they need access to different data. So, this is really what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it here. Now, I'm going to kind of skip ahead on this figure because this figure has everything in it. At the end of this, and we're going to talk about this today, but at the end of this, we want to publish the results to our workers. And I think we talked about this earlier. Two ways we publish, make this data available is push reporting and pull reporting. What's the difference between push and pull reporting? Good terms. It's a good term to use in the business world, not just for reporting, but other things. What's the difference between push and pull for communicating, if you will? And publishing information or data, reports is communicating. What do you think the difference is? So how about this? You guys all probably, maybe you don't care about your cell phone bill, but some of you do, I'm sure. Some of you maybe don't access it, but you get a monthly statement, right? Okay, every month you get that statement. It's a report of, use this much data, here's all the calls you made, here's the fees, here's the taxes. That comes to you on the 16th or the 12th of every month. That would be an example of what type of reporting. Verizon is sending you every damn month, whether you ask for it or not. That is pushing, right? They're pushing information to you, maybe a daily report, the weekly sales report, the monthly blah, blah, blah report, right? That is push information. So an organization may say, hey, this information is something people should manage by, so we're going to push it out there every week, every month, and you better review it as a manager. For example, St. Francis University, like our sales are what? What is something we need to manage? What do we need to manage? What are our sales? What leads the tuition now? Freshmen, right? First time incoming freshmen. So there's a subset of St. Francis employees that every Monday morning get a report that says, here's the number of applications at this point this year, at this point last year, at the point year before. This is the number of acceptances, this point last year, and number of deposits, right? And people should be looking at that, right? Because there might be an issue. If there's an issue, like this year, we were down like 40 or 50 freshmen. That's an issue. That's a bad thing, right? That's a bad thing for our organization. So that is an example of push reporting. So organizations say, I don't want to send everything out, right, on a regular basis. I don't want to say that's too much. But there are things that are important that I'm going to be pushing out to these people every so often. That's push reporting. So what do you think? Katie, give me an example of what pull reporting would be. Let's use the cell phone example. When would you do pull reporting for your cell phone?
Like
Sure.
between the times that you made the push outs, like in the middle of the month, you want to know how much you used at that point.
Okay, so very good. So you may say, I know my final statement doesn't come out till the 18th, but I'm interested now, so I'm going to go out and pull some information. Maybe how much data I've used. Maybe you go through and say like, well, how many text messages did I send to this number or vice versa? Or whatever it might be, right? You're looking for nuances, and that tends to be more what we call ad hoc. You guys ever hear the term ad hoc? What's ad hoc mean? We talk about pull reporting. What's ad hoc? What's ad hoc? You've heard ad hoc, right? What's that mean? It's Latin for to vis, which means it's for a specific purpose, right? So if you're pulling something, you want that information right now because you're trying to make a decision, you're trying to figure out something, right? So it's really specific kind of thing. Like I want to know, how many juniors have not taken Stat 302 yet or something like that. That's a pull report that is very ad hoc. It's for a certain reason. I'm doing something special, right? So that's not a push report because, hell, I may run that once this year and maybe not once next year, okay? So that's what we do with these results. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but sometimes in a lot of organizations, there are certain key components that are so important. They run something called a dashboard. That's a good business term as well. What's a dashboard? Ever hear of a dashboard? It's related to business intelligence. It's a way that data is pushed to key people that need to understand. What's a dashboard? All right, what's a dashboard in your car? What does that tell you, Tony? What does your dashboard in your car tell you?
A bunch of stuff.
A bunch of stuff. Give me something that tells you.
Speed.
Speed, how fast you're going. What else does it tell you, Tony?
RPMs.
RPMs, what else?
How much gas you have.
How much gas you have. Gives you alerts if the engine's going to blow up, if you're low in oil, if the tire pressure's low, right? The dashboard in a business organization, would be the same kind of thing. So it's a screen, sometimes it's a report, but not more often than not, it's a screen that maybe has a lot of conditional formatting, things are green here, or things are yellow, or things are red. There's this action that you have to take. So communicating is key, right? There's all this data, right? Think about all this data, and we need to get it to the people that understand. So a lot of organizations build what they call dashboards, right? Dashboards is think about it, one screen that has all these what they call KPIs, and now I'm getting ahead of myself for sure, but KPI stands for key performance indicators, right? So if you think about your car, performance indicators are some of the things you mentioned, like, hey, how fast am I going? That's important, right? RPMs, that's important, right? What's the heat of the engine at this point? That's important, yes? So key performance indicators for my business, maybe I'm charged with logistics, I want to know how many things are in stock and what might be short, so it shows up as red, or things are moving well. Do we have any delays in processing, right? So that is like a thing that we monitor, just like we monitor our dashboard as we drive our car, right? So it's not something I have to look at every second, but it's there. It's kind of in front of me. Does that make sense? So it's a way of boiling down a lot of information to these are the key performance indicators. These are things like, if this goes hot, my engine light starts blinking, well, shit, I better do something, right? Same thing with the dashboard, right? There are things that cause us to do something. So anyways, I got ahead of myself. So push and pull, hit that. So what we want to do is we want to obtain the data, which we can simply extract that from those sites. And then we want to cleanse data, okay? This kind of sounds weird, like cleaning data. Well, when we extract data from these sources, operational databases, social data, purchase data, employee data, there tends to be issues with it. That when we analyze it, if there's issues with it, we say, let's sort this by gender, right? So I say, let's create a report that sorts sales by gender, and I get something like this. I get F, I don't know, let's say $800,000 worth of sales, M, $400,000 worth of sales. I get B, $120,000 worth of sale. I get G, $80,000 worth of sale. I get asterisk, $20,000 worth of sales. Well, I run this report and I send that out to people, and they're like, what the hell does this mean, right? What's the problem with this report? I mean, we typically identify two genders, right? And I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. And maybe there's even a space, and that's 100K. Well, how did this happen? Why did this end up this way? Why did this end up with this way? Why did my report end up with 6 categories of gender instead of what I expect? Why? 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 Quite simply, what happened? When people entered the data, when we extracted the data, maybe instead of using F for female, someone said, I use G, right? For girl. I don't know. Someone said, instead of using M for male, I use B. And someone said, I don't know what the hell they're asking for there, so I just throw in an asterisk, right? Or I just leave that blank. I don't got time for that, right? I don't got time to code gender. So that happens a lot of times. When we get this data from all these sources, it might not be exactly the way we want it. So what happens, and this is a good computer term, I don't know if you guys ever seen this, it's GIGO. It stands for, and it's kind of true of everything, garbage in, garbage out. Okay, garbage in, like same thing with your body, garbage in, garbage out, right? If whatever comes in your life, garbage in, garbage out. So GIGO stands for garbage in, garbage out. So what we do is, before we organize and relate the data, we acquire the data, but there's a lot of processing that has to happen in that data to make sure it's in a format that when I get this report, it's going to say, I don't know, it's going to be like this. And someone's going to say, oh, female $1.1 million, male $800,000 worth of sales. Now I understand of our $1.9 million, that's the breakdown, right? Because it has been cleaned on the way in. So when we talk about cleaning data, there are some problems that we typically encounter with the data we acquire. And I'm going to go through some of those. I think it's in a slide up here. I know it's in a slide somewhere. Okay. So here are the possible problems with source data. And the first one is dirty data, which sounds odd. But dirty data is that situation I just talked about. Dirty data means for gender, someone used B instead of male, right? For age, for some reason, it says 213 years instead of maybe this person's 13 years old, right? Data that's just wrong, right? There's just values in there that don't make sense, can't possibly be right. I just ran a report, this wasn't too long ago. I ran a report of we have a Master's of Human Resource Management program. It's the longest, it's the oldest MBA master's program at St. Francis University, right? School of Business started the first master's program at St. Francis University. Anyway, it's called the Masters of Human Resource Management. It used to be called the Masters of Industrial Relations. I think it started in like 1960 or something like that. And I ran a report, and the one guy had a graduation year of like 1907. Now, I understand, right? And he's still alive, right? So I understand that we existed since 1847, but that program didn't exist in 1907. And that guy who I know, he's old, but he's not that old, right? He's not, what would he be over? He'd be like 140, right? He's not the oldest man in the world. So we have bad data in there. We have dirty data in there. You know what I'm saying? It probably should be like 1967, but it should be not 1907. So we have to clean that up, because if it comes out as saying, well, you have a graduate in the 1900, 1910. No, we don't. Okay, that's wrong data. Garbage in, garbage out. So dirty data. Missing values. Okay, missing values can be a problem. People don't enter things. Maybe we can correct that, maybe we cannot, right? Sometimes we can by purchasing data and assimilating that. We can do that. Inconsistent data. Inconsistent data means, we're gathering data from multiple sources. Sometimes the data can be inconsistent. Like maybe I have an address here and an address here, but they're not for Matt, but they're not the same address. Well, why? Why does that happen? What kind of things happen like that? No one entered the data wrong. What happens? So I have an address for Matt here, and an address for Matt here. Which one's right? What happened? Well, Matt might have moved, right? And when we gathered this data, he lived here, and now he lives here, right? So we kind of have to figure out which of these records is the newest, when was the data gathered the newest, and we have to use that. So we have to make that consistent. Maybe sometimes a good example of this, has anyone had their area code changed? No, because sometimes they change area codes, like, no. They've been doing that because there's more numbers because of the cell phones. So sometimes they take an area code of like, I don't know, 412. They say, well, we don't have enough numbers for 412 anymore. So now this part of the 412 area code is now 724. They come up with a new area code. So what happens is you may have that kind of thing, right? So now we have a number that's wrong. So that is inconsistent data. That stuff happens as well. Sometimes data is not integrated, meaning, we need to, we're gathering this data from various areas. We need to match Randall Fry that we purchased with Randall Fry, our customer, and hell, maybe even, Randall opened 2 accounts and he didn't tell us he was a customer already. So I have 2 customer accounts and I also purchased data on him. So now I need to bring it up and say, this is one person. Have you ever done this? Actually, here's a good example of this, data integration or duplicate data. Have you ever looked at your contacts in your phone, and you can have like John Miko, and you can have his email, his mobile, his cell, his work, all that stuff. Or you might have 5 John Mikos. You ever have that? Like, because you put him in when you got his home, you put him in when you got his email, you put him in when you got his cell, whatever it might be. So you have 5 John Mikos. You're like, I only know 1 John Miko, right? It's my favorite contact, but I only know 1. So what it does, you think about it, it relates that together. And there's a little process you run on your phone. You ever do that? No? I'm the only one that runs that process on my phone? You can do that. I'm sure I have an Android, but I know an iPhone has that ability. You can say, duplicate, find duplicates and merge them, right? And it'll merge you into one contact. So now I have John Miko and I have all his stuff under one. So that's the kind of process that runs when we're trying to clean data. Data not integrated, inconsistent, duplicate values. So that is an important process. And people that manage warehouses, data warehouses and data marts, they spend a lot of time on that issue, making sure the data is consistent, because garbage in, garbage out. If we go through all that process and then come up with a report like this, people aren't happy, right? They can't use this. We're like, oh, what the hell does that mean, right? So we want to make sure our data is good. The other issue that I want to speak about is, and this one's a little harder to follow, but we can have the wrong granularity, okay? So data can be what we say too fine or too coarse. Too fine is, it's kind of crazy, but when you're at a website, they're actually something called clickstream data. You know what clickstream data is? You know what clickstream data is? Anyone know? What do you think? What does it sound like, clickstream data? Huh? It does sound fast, but it's a stream, clickstream, that's right. What do you think clickstream data is? They track where you click, right? So they show an ad, or they show a screen of ads, and they want to know where you clicked, exactly where you clicked on that screen. Like you clicked pixel 100 by 150, right? Or you clicked this area of the screen. And then maybe you went to, you had another application up and you went to another window and you clicked over there and you clicked over here. Believe me, they track all that stuff, where you click, right? That's clickstream data. Think about that kind of data. It's very, very fine. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of information that maybe we don't need. It's what we call, it might be too fine, right? We're really just concerned with, how many people clicked on our ad or not clicked on our ad. But we have exactly where they clicked. We had that they went to another application and clicked 500 spots there. They took an hour. They were playing a game and they went here. That's too fine of data. That isn't as tough to deal with because we can always kind of parse out the things we don't need and just focus on the things we do need. The problem that we have a lot of times is data that's too coarse. Okay, too coarse meaning it doesn't have the requisite amount of detail. So if I'm concerned with produce at the Evansburg Mall Mart, right? I'm concerned with, I don't know, the inventory of oranges and apples and radishes and all those good things. If someone gives me the regional sales report for the quarter 3, that can't help me, replenish the oranges, right? It's too coarse of data. It's too much. It's at too high of a level. That's harder to get down to the nitty gritty than too fine of data. So too fine is a better problem than too coarse. Okay, so kind of wanted to go through those things. Now let's go back to this slide, because this slide kind of does talk about everything. So we obtain the data, we clean it, and specifically we're looking for these types of issues, to resolve these types of issues. We organize and relate it, so that would be, bringing it from all kinds of sources. I want to organize and relate it so it's all about my customer. And then I catalog, meaning catalog, I store it, right? It's cleaned, it's good, I put it in the warehouse. I put it in my data mart, right? It's now cataloged. This was processed on such and such a date. It's there, it can be reported on, all those good things. So that is a big step, okay? That's a big step. It's not as simple as saying, oh, there's the data due. That is a huge step. There's a lot of time spent doing that. Now, what I want to focus on next is, now that we have our data catalog, we want to perform the analysis. And this is exciting stuff. This is how we take all that data, all that overwhelming amount of data, and pull out those nuggets of gold that we can use for things like cross-selling, that we can use to say, this is what I should be doing, reorder these items. These are my top salespeople, my lowest salespeople. These are purchasing patterns that I see, like when people buy this item, they also tend to buy this item, right? So that's where, once we have that data, we can try to get those nuggets of information. So there's different applications, okay? Different applications that I can do. Today, we're going to focus on the first one, which is pretty simple. The first one is reporting applications. So reporting applications, it's not as sexy as some of the others, like big data and all those great things. But reporting is still the foundational informational tool that BI applications rely on. Okay? Reporting applications create meaningful information from disparate data sources, deliver information to users on time. So there are 5 basic reporting tools that we use. And I'm going to go through all those. We're going to do those with Excel. We can sort data. We can filter data. We can group data. We can calculate or analyze, depending on how you want to look at that. And we can format that data. Okay? So let's hold on. I'll put a pin in that for a second. Oh, I hate saying that. Hold on to that a second. And we're going to talk about a good reporting application. So I have, let's say I own an organization, a sales organization, and I have tens of thousands of customers, maybe 100,000 customers, right? And maybe I have a staff of salespeople, of roughly 10 or 15 salespeople. So you do the math. 10 or 15 salespeople, 100,000 customers. Can you go out and talk to all those customers? No, do you have time to do that? So what might we do? How might we determine who gets our attention and who doesn't get our attention? What would you do, Sean? Create a demographic. So you said, Sean. Sorry to hear that. So like what? So you're saying focus on a certain demographic, right? Like what's your demographic you want to focus on? What's that? What do you want to sell?
Something
Nice. How about solar panels? Elon Musk is coming out with, Tesla. You guys know the organization Tesla? You guys know Tesla? Yeah. It's, the cars Tesla, right? Electric cars. It came out with like these solar panels that go like as your roofs now, right? Like so that instead of shingles you put these on, right? Let's say we're selling them. You want to sell those or not?
Yeah,
They're high end.
Yeah, so we're looking for probably wealthy house owners that are looking to go green.
All right, well, let's say this. Maybe that's not a good product. I shouldn't use that product because let's say we've sold those damn things for, and let's say we are focusing on not retail sales, but like wholesale, right? We're selling to like we're selling these panels still. We're selling to like construction companies, people that like would install them on homes. Let's say we've been selling them for 5 years. So the market's mature, not a new market, a mature market. And maybe Microsoft came out with those damn panels as well, and Google, and people are into my business, right? Let's set the stage that way. So I have 100,000 customers. I obviously want new customers, but I got to give love to my old customers, right? I only have 10, 15 salespeople. How do I determine what current customers I go out and see, or meet with?
The old customers, associates, their friends, and target them.
Target them. I'm not talking about. You don't do new customers. We have 10 or 15 people that are in like the retention business. You know what I mean? Like keeping inside sales, like keeping the same damn customers, augmenting that. We have other people out there going for new customers. You're not going for new customers. You're saying, we have 100,000 people that have bought something from us at some point. I want to say, like, who should I go talk to? What do you think? So what do I have? Tim?
Whoever spends the most.
All right, so wouldn't that be something, like, wouldn't I go after, like, the big hitters, right? Like, I would, right? I mean, I might like Sean more than like Sawyer, but Sawyer spends a lot of money with me, so, if I get free Penguin tickets, I'm not taking Sean. I'd like to have a better time with Sean, right? But who am I taking that Penguins game? Well, Sawyer drops a lot of bank with me, so I'm going to take Sawyer, right? So that's one thing I'd want to look at, right? Who spends a lot of money with me? Yes, so think about that. I have a customer base of all the transactions. I can find out that information. So that's one thing that would be important, okay? And we're going to talk about something called RFM analysis, right? That's a way I analyze my customer base. And one of those, who spent the most money with us, is what Tim said, M. That's what the M stands for. Who spent the most money with us? You can see the other two. What do you think those are? So we're going to analyze our current customer base, and I'm going to look at these two things as well. What do you think R and the F? It says what they mean, but why the hell would we want to look at the recency and the frequency? What do you think? I'll let you think while I sip coffee.
Well, you would frequency is like how frequent they're buying, like they have more chance to continue to buy from you.
Okay, so frequency, yes, that's important, right? So we're saying, well, maybe Sawyer spent a lot of money with us, but it was like one major transaction, right? Maybe he just got one, maybe he got a hospital or something. So he bought a lot of stuff from us, but he'll be working on that damn hospital for 5 years, yes? And that's what his company's doing. He's building that damn hospital, so all right. But maybe Ricardo builds, high-end houses, and shit, he buys from us, maybe a lot, right? Every couple of weeks, he's calling, right? Maybe it's not as big as Sawyer's purchase, but he's calling, like he's coming back to us every week. We want to make sure he keeps coming back to us, yes? So frequency is important. We want to monitor that, right? And how about the R? What do you think recency, recently, or recency? I don't know. It sounds better when I say recency. What do you think we're going to monitor the R for? Why would that be important? Kim?
You say like customer satisfaction.
Okay, so think about this. We are going to take our customer base, and we're going to break them up into what we call quintiles, right? So this is from stats, right? So top 20% get a 1. Next 20% get a 2. Next 20% get a 3, a 4, and a 5. So if you think about it, we're going to go look at the customers, and we're going to say, if they bought from us, like, in the top 20%, meaning like last week, they get a 1. If they bought a month ago, they get a 2. If they bought 3 months ago, they get a 3, was the most recent. They bought 2 years ago, they get a 4. They haven't bought for 8 years, they get a 5. Okay? Frequently is how often they purchase, how many transactions, 1 through 5. Money is how much they spend, 1 through 5. 1 meaning the most, in all cases, right? 1 is the best. So if we take all of our customers and we break them up into quintiles on those 3 measures, when they bought most recently, when they bought, how much they buy, like how often, how many times, and then how much they spent, RFM. And I come up with these scores. This is called an RFM score for my current customers. Tell me something you know based on this analysis on these. I know these aren't, they're not, doesn't look like we're selling like sports equipment. But what do you know about these customers? What do you, like, tell me something you know about these customers based on this RFM. So we did an RFM analysis on our customer file, and we got these scores for these 4 customers. What do you know about them? Take one and analyze it for me, Tom.
Central Colorado State is kind of like in the middle.
Yeah, they're kind of a middler, right? It looks like they're...
They don't spend like a whole lot, but and they spend enough. They like just buy every so often when they need stuff, I guess.
So they're kind of an average customer, right? They're kind of an average customer. So, you know, if I only have 10 or 15 sales associates, well, I don't know. Let's just let that go. But hopefully it continues. But right now, yeah, they're in the middle there. Okay, you know, hopefully things go well, and we're going to try to serve them, but you know, they probably don't deserve a call, right? Because I only got 10 or 15 people. What else? Give me another customer up there and analyze it for me and tell me what that means. Kyle, someone else, Kyle. It's not just me and you in the class.
St. Louis.
No, I said no, Kyle.
Oh.
I want someone else talking. I love you, Kyle. I appreciate your patient, but you got a whole other one you not do. So, someone else has to analyze that. Danielle, thank you.
St. Louis may not be recent, but they buy a lot and they spend a lot.
Okay, so look at St. Louis Soccer Club. Man, they have a lot of transactions with us, and they spend a lot of money with us. Well, that is an issue. What does this mean? What does 511 mean for the St. Louis Soccer Club? What did St. Louis Soccer Club, what did they do? What do we think they did? They left us, right? They left us. They were one of our best customers. They spent a lot of money. They bought from us often, and they haven't bought from us for a while. So they went to another company. So they were a great customer. So we're going to send out Sean, our best sales associate, and he's going to take them to dinner and say, what the hell happened? What did we do wrong? How can we get you back, right? You know what I'm saying? That's an important one, right? They're a 511. That means, hey, that was a good customer. We lost them. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you lose customers and they don't tell you. They just leave, right? They just say, well, we got a better deal. The heck with them, right? They don't tell you. That's a bad deal. Like, you want customers to tell you when you're doing wrong, because then you can correct it. If they just leave you, you don't know. But this might help us. Like, hey, we noticed, we noticed you used to be a good customer and you left us. Have you ever seen that? Like, have you ever subscribed to even a magazine? They say, hey, you stopped subscribing, and we want you back. Do you ever get a we want you back? Kind of, not from your significant other, but you ever get a we want you back from an organization? No? No? They don't want you guys? Never? I'll tell you one thing, sometimes I quit subscribing to the newspaper for a week or two. Because the only reason I do that is I like the newspaper. I can go a week or two because they want me back then. I'm playing hard to get. They give me a great deal, right? They give me like 40% off to get me back. I'm like, all right, I'm in again. But I'm really in again the whole time, right? But so I'm working them for my end, right? But yeah, they do that all the time, right? So that's a good one. So this is where we're going to spend some time. What else? Give me. What are your thoughts about Miami Municipal? What do you think about them? Tony, what do you think about Miami Municipal?
They kind of suck.
All right.
It's not really been there. They don't buy.
Yeah.
Never do anything.
They haven't bought from us recently. They didn't spend a lot of money when they did. They didn't buy from us. It might have been a one-off deal, right? It might have been like, I don't know, they were sampling us. So given my limited resource, Sean's already out there with St. Louis Soccer Club trying to give them love and win them back. I probably say, unless I have outside data that tells me their potential to buy is much higher than what I've seen, I'd probably let them go, right? Okay. And what about Big Seven sports? Randall, what do you think about Big Seven sports?
There's a solid performance other than money. I like it, the return, the frequent, like the money,
Yeah, they're definitely a current customer. They're definitely buying from us a lot. They're like, my Ricardo example, right? Maybe he's not building hospitals, he's not spending a whole lot of money, but he's engaged. He's buying from us. He's buying from us often. He's a good customer, right? And we want to maintain this relationship, but he's a current customer. We want to make sure we don't screw that up, right? We don't want to forget about Ricardo because he's the lifeblood of this place, but and maybe there's an opportunity to upsell these people. Okay, so this is an example of what we call a reporting application, where I can look at my customers, I can break them up into quintiles here, and then based on those quintiles, I'm making decisions about where my salespeople go. Yes, and I'll tell you what. Okay, so I see this like pharmaceutical sales. Okay, I know Tim's going to go into the medical field, but you guys anyone in pharmaceutical sales? No, it used to be a more lucrative profession. They kind of regulated that up, but they buy data. I kid you not, pharmaceutical sales. They buy data, prescription data, but they don't from like the big like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid. And they want to know, like, John Miko's a doctor, and how many scripts does he write a year for, let's say it's high blood pressure medicine, right? And they want to know how many scripts he's writing for high blood pressure medicine, and what is he prescribing most of the time? Because think about that. Why do those pharmaceutical sales reps? So maybe they see like, wow, that's a big market. He's writing a lot of scripts he's seen a lot of people that have high blood pressure. But he's prescribing company A versus our company, right? So we're going to go out we're going to buy his staff lunch. You ever see this? They regulate what they can do now, but it used to be filthy. Like business ethic wise, it was filthy. Like like docs they'd fly him to places, start prescribing our medicine, and they'd come in and they'd buy everyone all the admin's lunch. You know what I'm talking? You guys ever hear these stories? Yeah. They regulated a lot of that, what they can do. And pharmaceutical sales rep, and I'm not trying to be, what the term I'm looking for, I don't want to be like non-politically correct, but typically they hire very attractive males and females, right? Like there's a beautyism to that, right? It's like one of the shadiest things. It's like legal. It used to, and they regulate it now. It's a little bit better, but it used to be very, very shady. But anyways, think about it. They buy data on that, and they don't have that data themselves, but they're willing to pay top dollar for that data, so they can do that type of analysis. Think about St. Francis University, and I talked about earlier. What is our lifeblood? What is our revenue? What is our sales? First-time incoming freshmen. So we have data on people that applied, right? And we analyze that data, we actually figure out a likelihood to deposit score, right? So think about that. We said, this person is interested in this major, so that gets some points. This person may play a sport, that gets a point. Maybe when they filled out their FAFSA, you guys know what a FAFSA is? Or their SAT, you can say, like, I want this information sent to these schools. You guys know what I'm talking about? So you say, like, I want this SAT sent to 5 schools. I want this FAFSA sent to these 5 schools. Well, if you just put one school on your SAT and one school on your FAFSA, and it's us, what does that make us think? That you're coming, right? That there's a high likelihood that you're coming here because it doesn't seem like you're interested in anyone else, yes? So schools get that data, right? And we don't do that, actually, we don't. I mean, I swear to you, we don't do it. But what do you think that means when you're talking about discounting tuition? What do you think that, and we don't look at that, but think of how you could use that if you were a university, and I'm 95% sure Danielle's coming, Maybe I'm only about 50% sure that Tony's coming. And they're both the same damn students. They're both, they're both maybe at 1100 SAT, both like 3.5 GPA, both interested in business. What do you think I might do?
Tony's gonna get a discount.
Yeah, I might show Tony more love, discount-wise, than I show Danielle, because, hey, she seems to like us a lot already, right? She's at 90% likelihood, and Tony, he's looking at other schools, so maybe I show him a little more love, right? Now, I can tell you, St. Francis, I, to be honest, does not do that. Like, we have like a standard discounting table based on SAT and GPA and that kind of stuff. But schools do that, I can tell you that, right? It's that is done, right? That is done. So this is all legal, maybe a little, borderline ethical use of information. So I don't want to fire Cell up right now, but please bring your laptops for Wednesday, and we're going to do an RFM analysis. We're going to take a customer base, and we're going to use those tools of sorting, formatting, filtering, calculating, and reporting. And we are going to do an RFM analysis and see how simple those things are and how much information we can really glean for our decision making. Have a wonderful day.